your big ass up in here without an invite, huh? Go ahead. Admit to it.
Admit to what?
That you dead. That one of them white folks out there killed you and you a hate now.
You listening to this? Woman, this man showed me kindness.
Yes.
Welcome. Yes.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to our second episode of BW Flix, the Average Movie Critics. That's our new title for our movie review podcast. And look, you saw the clips, and we said it last episode that we were going to do a review on Sinners, considering this is the Oscar weekend coming up. And Sinners is nominated for 16, count them, 16 total awards. And man, welcome back. How you doing, my man?
Awesome. I'm really looking forward to do this movie review because this movie was really good. I mean, you had to watch it. I watched it a couple times just in case I just missed something in it because there's a lot of things going on in this movie that I know that you have taken to context too. So, and I know you'll get to those, but I mean, the movie is really good. It deserved its 16 nominations. That's for sure.
I would definitely say that too. I'll say that too. What I will say is that it came from a different perspective that I think no one really, because you have movies about Jim Crow and about slavery and that are out there that actually, they explained a lot of different things, but this took a different angle. And I was pretty impressed with it. I love the aspect of the vampirism during that time. And that, to me, symbolizes a lot of different things that went on during that time. And we'll get more into that. But what I want to address to the audience is that we played the clips of the movie first, but I want to apologize to any parents out there who didn't know that maybe you haven't seen this movie yet, and you might have children out there watching that there's some explicit language, violence that is happening in the movie. Going forward, we will let you know that's what's happening because we review any and every movie. So any genre, any time period, whatever it may be, we try to talk about many different movies. So if that bothers you, I would just tell you, try not to watch, or we'll let you know ahead of time, because we're going to always tell you at the end of the episode what movie that we will be reviewing next week. Because another reason we're doing that is because we have spoilers. So if you have not seen the movie and you do not like spoilers, please do not watch the episode. Again, B and I will be talking about the movie in depth, and we will be giving spoilers. The movie looked like it might have been filmed West Bank, that it might have been filmed in Mississippi, on location in Mississippi, but we're not sure because everything's AI generated and CGI generated now. So they could have been in California, they could have been anywhere, but the location supposedly is Mississippi. They don't give any specific town or city, but it's definitely in Mississippi, at least on location specifically, whether it's CGI or real location. With that being said, man, this is Sinners. The genre is horror action. It's about 2 hours and 17 minutes. It's rated 7.5 on IMDb, which is pretty high for a movie. And Rotten Tomatoes has it at 97%. Just tells you how really good this is. My man Ryan Coogler, he's not my man. I don't know him, but I just affectionately call him my man because my man has directed many different movies. We'll get into that later about him. But he's the writer and the director of this movie, and the cast includes Michael B. Jordan. He is playing two characters, twin brothers, Smoke and Stack. And I want to give the audience a little bit of tidbit of those names. If you didn't know, Smoke and Stack is really one word, Smokestack. Smokestack Lightning. It pays homage to Howling Wolf, the blues singer. That song came out in 1956. Smokestack Lightning. If you don't know that, go play that song by Howling Wolf. Smokestack Lightning is a jam. It's an old jam. You might not like blues, but I'm a lover of blues music, and so that's one of my favorite songs. Just a tidbit there. Now, again, he plays Smoke and Stack, twin brothers, gangsters, and who were in Chicago. They were original residents of Mississippi. They come back down to Mississippi. Another actress, Haley Stanfield, plays Mary, the love interest of Stack. Wunmi Mosaku, I hope I didn't jack her name up. She's Anne. Annie. She's the wife of Smoke, the twin brother. And Miles Katon, I believe that's his name, the young actor who makes his debut playing Preacher Boy, Sammy Moore, Preacher Boy. Omar Benson, you might know him. He was in what was the movie?
8 Mile. He was in 8 Mile.
He was in 8 Mile. Miracle at Saint Anna. He was in a lot of movies. But he plays Cornbread, the big, large guy that's the door. What do you call those guys when they at the door? What
Bouncers.
The bouncer. He pretty much was the bouncer of 1932. And then you have the great Delroy Lindo, who happens to be nominated for an Oscar. Yes, Delroy Lindo plays Delta Slim, the aging alcoholic blues singer that fills a lot of scenes in this movie. And then you also have Jamie Lawson, who plays Pearline, the love interest and married love interest of Preacher Boy. Lee Jun, she plays Grace Chow, and Jack O'Connell is the last but not least. Jack O'Connell is the Irish vampire in the movie. He is Remick. Now, that being said, man, we can get to some movies and let you know. Before we get to the movies, let's go over their Oscar nominations. They are nominated for a record 16 Oscars. So the previous record was 14, and it was 3 different movies. It was All About Eve in 1950, Titanic in 1997, and La La Land in 2016. Again, 14 nominations, and they topped that by 2 more. And they're nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Ryan Coogler, Best Actor, Michael B. Jordan, which well-deserved if he gets it, playing 2 different people. Best Supporting Actor, Delroy Lindo. Best Supporting Actress, Wunmi Mosaku. Best Original Screenplay, Ryan Coogler. Best Original Score, Ludwig Göransson. Best Original Song, I Lied to You. Best Film Editing, Best Production Design, Best Casting, Best Cinematography, Best Costume Design, Best Makeup and Hairstyling, Best Sound, and Best Visual Effects. So, B, with all that being said, what do you think about all these nominations for the movie? Do you think it's well-deserved? Just shortly, just let the audience know what your thoughts are about that.
I would say, yeah. Like I said, I've seen the movie, 2-3 times already, and every time I see it, I mean, it's a movie that you want to come back and come see. And then, like I said, of course, we're going to rate it at the end, near the end of the show there. But yeah, this is one of those movies. It was just really well put together. And I know that we were talking before about me and you were talking about the musical score in there and how you kind of didn't. Well, you kind of were kind of iffy about the whole fact that they brung in hip hop and stuff like that as part of the blues scene, where he's doing the blues and they start bringing in all this different time of music, and then you show from the yesteryear and to today I thought that was kind of creative, to tell you the truth. I thought it was it really played into what they were trying to show. The one thing about this movie, it really showed a lot of Black culture in it and what it meant from the time of the movie. What was it, like the 1918s or something like that? So 20s or something like
1932. It was
1932.
A specific time in
1932. Yeah, in the 30s. So you got that aspect, and then you got what it's like now, the music that it's like now. So it's kind of like it was showing you a brief history of everything and how things came to be. So I like that aspect of the movie. I thought as far as the movie itself, it was culturally well done. You got to give it to Coogan. He did a good job with this.
Yeah, I would, with the audience, if you don't know, he's talking about specifically, the movie is about two twins, and well, it's not about two twins. I mean, it starts, main protagonists are the two twins, and they come back from Chicago, newly fresh from Chicago. They're from Mississippi, and their idea, one of them, Stacks, his idea is to build a juke joint or a club, local club there that the locals can have a good time, that are African American, not anybody else. With that being said, and no offense out there, if just again, it's the movie and talking about the times. These are actual things that occurred during those times. Black people couldn't go into white establishments. So I think everybody understands that you had to have your own. And so they wanted to have their own establishment, a juke joint at that time. And they wanted to make it big. And so with that being said, what B is talking about, and B stands short for Brian, if anybody doesn't know, Brian Arn. And so I call him B affectionately because we have a podcast dealing with sports, and we go either he goes by B Strilla, B, BA, and those are his nicknames. So I just call him B for short. With that being said, in the middle of the movie, the premise, or excuse me, not the premise, but the juke joint is actually in running. And as they're in the midst of singing and jamming, and everybody's having a really good time, what B is talking about is that the essence of the time period. Yeah, I have to disagree with you. Stack is more like they're like night and day. I'm gonna get back into that in what I was talking about. But Stack and Smoke and Stack are like night and day. One is about business. One is about keeping things straight. He's A-type personality. One is a fighter and one is a lover. So Stack is the lover. Stack is the pimp and the lover. So and Smoke is the guy that's no nonsense. He's about business. Yeah. He's everything he does. He doesn't play. He sees things far ahead, and he lets you know that like if something's a problem, we can handle it right now. Smoke, again, Stack is the guy. He's kind of like laugh, jokey, and he's the lover. He's kind. I guess you could say him being kind. But with that being said, they're having a great time. And the essence of the party at the time is about the music. It's about the blues and what's within them, not what's being played, but what they bring from their heritage from Africa. Delta Slim makes point of that by saying, hey, he's teaching Preacher Boy something because Preacher Boy is young and he's green. And he's saying it's not about what they tried to force upon us with religion, meaning we're talking about Christianity. It's about what we have that's in us, the music, the magic that we brought over here. And so you begin to see that in the middle of the movie when things begin to just is out in the air. As a matter of fact, they start showing glimpses of people from the future. We're talking about music, how it translates from when it's blues, when it's folk, when it's rock and roll, translating into hip hop, translating into R&B, different things like that. And you start seeing bits and pieces of that with actual, like, you see somebody looks like George Clinton with the Funkadelics. You see somebody looks like from the past. You one of the people which is true, they have Asians during that time in Mississippi. You have two Asian characters that are in the movie. You see a bit of their history that's walking through. You see a bit of the history of the African dance that's walking through. So I love the creativity of that. But for me, and as I'm going to get into this and then go back into the beginning of the movie, as a purist of the time period, I would rather have seen just that time period just be focused on that. And that could be hypocritical of me because, again, we're talking about, you're trying to be pure about movies, and yet there's vampires in the movie, which is not realistic at all. So, but with that being said, I don't want to get into my rating of the movie just yet, but I see why they went that direction. I can see why they went that direction. I would rather have not had that part in the movie.
Yeah, they're all they all have their different different characteristics.
Bring this back up at the end because I want to bring that up at the end in my conclusion of the movie. Now, with that being said, let's just, for people who may not have seen the movie, we're in Mississippi, and the movie starts out after the movie ended. I mean, pretty much. I mean, not after, but after the trauma and everything happened. You see, Preacher Boy drives up in the car to a church, seemingly his father's church, because as soon as he opens the door, his mother calls out his name and Sammy, and the preacher stops the mother and calls him up forward. And preacher is bloodied and cleaved. So he's got scars on the side of his face. He's got a half broken guitar. And so you don't know what's going on, but clearly he'd been through something. And so he walks up to the beginning, walks up to the pulpit of the church, and his father greets him there and hugs him. And true to any older church, if anybody out there has grown up in a church and understands, he calls him out and wants him to repent in front of the church and give up his sinful ways right there, and promise to him and the church that he'll do that. And so that resonated with me, because I know people that have done that to other people in churches and stuff like that. And you see, okay, so he right there, he's got to make a decision. But then the movie goes to the day before, where everything's happening. You're starting to build a protagonist. You're starting to build not Slim, but Preacher Boy. Then you get introduced to the twins. You get introduced to to Delta Slim. You get introduced to their love life interest. And then you start understanding, okay, they start creating. The movie is starting to build up characters here. It's starting to build the characters, and you're starting to see who these people are, and you understand what they want to do, and then you start to see it manifest. You're starting to see the two twins. They went to Chicago. They robbed. They worked for Al Capone. They were in the army as well. So they got outside of life in Mississippi. They were able to see things differently than what country folk might be seeing. So and the way it might seem a little simpler when you're in Mississippi, when you're under the neck of Jim Crow. And so they weren't really like that. But they did one quote that I heard them say when Preacher Boy was in the car with them and said, Chicago, was it better than Mississippi? He said the only difference between Chicago was Jim Crow is there. It just has I'm paraphrasing this. Jim Crow was there, but it has tall buildings and skyscrapers. No different. Same crap. And he didn't say crap. And so with that being said, that's where they say they rather deal with the devil that they know, not the one that they don't know. So they came back home to Mississippi with money that they taken, and of course wanted to build their juke joint. And right now, we're seeing the pain of these guys as well when they're coming back to old memories. One left the girl, Stack left his girl back home because she was fair skinned. But she could pass for Caucasian, but she had black in her family. But he'd rather her be with someone that looked like her, and they all be safe, because as you mentioned earlier off screen, you can get hanged just for looking at a white woman the wrong way. And so that he knew that probably wouldn't work, that they would have to go somewhere else if they wanted to be together. That being said, contrast Smoke, him and his wife, they lost a child. They lost a baby. And obviously she was seemingly some sort of witch doctor or priestess or something like that, where she believed in, voodoo, and, she would sell certain things to people, like whether it be like a bag of magic or whatever. Anybody out there might know what I'm talking about?
Witch.
Yes.
She was like a witch.
She was a witch, right?
A medicine or something, like a medicine doctor.
For sure.
Type of, yeah, kind of.
For sure.
Like what do you call it? Voodoo. She was a lot.
Yeah, for sure. A voodoo priestess, probably. Yes.
Yeah, voodoo priestess.
And with that being said, Smoke left and came back, and obviously it was painful for him there. And they got back together, and he wanted her to come cook for them at their opening night. And so they had money. They had a lot of stuff. You just see the power that they had. Like one of them, as a matter of fact, Smoke said one to somebody that money brings power. And at the end, I want to bring this back up as well, that not only money brings power, it could be many other different things. Money is just an aspect of power. Power can be ascertained in many different forms. It can be brought to you in many different ways. It's not just money. But with that being said, man, so far where we are in this movie, what do you think about how the direction of this movie is going so far? Meaning like how they introduce everyone, how they the story is being told. As we saw at the beginning, we didn't know exactly what was going on, but how everything begins to manifest to this point. What are you thinking so far?
Well, we should play a little clip from when Slim has his girl follow him, by the way. She comes on train, the one that is fair skinned. She comes on the train, and they have Mary, and they have this little confrontation at the train station, which, much to his surprise, that she had followed him. Just to set it up, he didn't really. He's trying to be a man, he's trying to man up and try to be all, I didn't want you to follow me, blah blah blah. Even though he really likes the girl, but they are in the South, so we can't. I don't know what you're saying there, Robbie. Hey, good evening for you. So look at this clip. It's kind of a funny clip too. And again, if you got any small kids around, you don't want them to hear this stuff in here because it's kind of vivid. You might want to close their ears or put your headphones on or whatever the case may be, but because it's kind of a little bit of vile in it. So here it is. Here's
parental discretion advised is what he's saying.
Parental discretion is, yeah, because this movie is rated R, by the way. All right, here we go.
Shit, well, I don't know how in the hell you gonna do that.
Because you told me you loved me.
Well, I told you to stay the fuck away from me too, but I guess you didn't hear that part, huh?
I heard you. I heard you loud and clear, but then you stuck your tongue in my coos and fucked me so hard, I figured you changed your mind.
Keep your voice down now. It's not exactly how I remember it.
Oh, it ain't. Remember falling asleep with your head on my chest? Leaving in the middle of the night without a fucking word?
The hell are you doing back here, Mary?
I buried my mama yesterday, Stack.
So there you go. Yes, I told you had to kind of watch that. But anyway.
So you can see the main protagonist love interest. Definitely, you can see why they're the love interest because they don't take crap. I mean, these guys are supposed to be roughnecks. And you can see the women are just as rough with them, and so you can see why they do why they're with these ladies, and so I really like the characters, and I like the actresses and how they portrayed their specific roles, and I can see why both. Well, one of them I can see Mary wasn't up. I mean, or Haley that played Mary, she's not up for any award in regards to Oscar, but she did a magnificent job, but Annie did a great job in her character, man. Wow. And Smoke's love interest. And so, look, you just, I mean, I love the realness about the move, about that scene. And you understand that, look, you can't do anything. I mean, to me, honestly, I was shocked that he was just standing next to her. Because you back then in reality, you couldn't do that. You have to walk and don't even look that way. You have to just walk and keep going. Otherwise, you were heading for troubles. And so,
and it was really funny because when you're watching them converse, it's really not. You don't see really many white people around there. You just see black folks around there, and they're turning around and they're like. They're trying to keep it like, damn, why is she talking so loud? Shut up, and they're just kind of they can hear a little bit what's going on, but they're kind of like pretending they ain't hearing it. So, they're getting some kind of respect going on. But it's funny. I mean, just for that whole conversation, and being in that time, you didn't want anything to be oversaid, and she was just loud with it too. On top of it, she didn't care, and
that's a woman scorn. That's a woman scorn, sir. It's definitely it's real. But what I will say is, to that particular part, there's another scene where they're in town and they're trying to get signs and everything, food and many different things set up for the opening of the club or juke joint, and Smoke has to go out and shoot two guys that he knows. because they're trying to steal stuff out of the back of the truck.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that particular scene, I had to watch it a couple of times to pick this up. But I think what Ryan Coogler was trying to convey, because if you notice in the scene, there are white people walking around. They're shopping, they're doing everything. They're in town, but there's no police and no anybody that comes after that shooting scene. Because why? It's black on black crime. Nobody white was shot. Nobody white was hurt or harmed or maimed in anything in that scene. It was specifically black on black crime, and they could probably care less. Maybe that's what they were trying to convey in this movie, but I did catch that, and I thought that was a really good point of emphasis to show that time period. But again, going back to where we were, let's move on to the scene where the club is almost ready, and then we're introduced to the antagonist, and that's Remick. Remick is the guy, you don't know what he is until he runs. He's being chased to this house, and he's seemingly burning up. So you don't know what's going on with him, but he's begging and pleading. And I love this scene because it also brings about this movie is very it gives you a lot of nuggets in regards to history. You see, you have groups of people. You have Asian, you have Black, or African American, you have Caucasian, and you also have Native American, and they're all in the Deep South. And in this movie, they're all specifically playing a certain role. And so the Native American, it looks like they're indicative of playing the role of, I'm going to get back at you, because at this period, everything that has occurred, in 1932, they're like on reservations and everything. It's very little Native American walking around that's just out like natural. So when you see this group, they're hunting a Caucasian, but you don't know why. And so the two Caucasians that are in the house, the husband and wife, they hide him because he pleads with them and asks to hide, and he shows them money. And he shows them money. Initially, they don't want to do anything with them. Because they're holding him at gunpoint at the door. But I love this movie because it's talking about being a sinner. Money bought them. It bought them, and they paid for it with their lives. And eventually, we find out he's a vampire, and he turns these two into vampires. And so, obviously, the juke joint is going on right now. They're having the music and having a good time. And they walk up at the beginning of the scene, showing up with guitars and banjos in hand. And they want to be invited in, and they're not let in. And of course, everybody comes up to the front. They hear them play, and you're looking, and they have a brief conversation about, what's going on and who they're really after. And who they're after is Preacher Boy. Preacher Boy's voice, that they heard him singing from outside. So the money root is, yes, exactly. It definitely is, brother, but it's one aspect, but it is definitely the root of all evil. With that being said, Preacher Boy's voice. And to me, when I see that point, I want to get your point on this. When I see the point when the vampires say, we would love to have him or talk to him and have, hear, because they hear his voice from way outside and how magical it was, how beautiful it was. Preacher Boy is a semblance of the culture, of the music culture, African American culture, because they're not speaking of him specifically. They're speaking of what is going to be projected in the future. Because again, what you mentioned, when they're showing the culture, they're showing everything in that one particular song. They're showing all the different aspects of it, how they include it. Preacher Boy himself was a semblance of it, because it's like everybody is introduced to him in the juke joint and what he brings, and it just reaches their soul. It's captivating. And so, but it's not just captivating with Black people, it's also captivating white people. I'm pretty sure the Asian lady, because she's jamming in there too. So it's multicultural. And so that's what he wanted. That's specifically what the vampire wanted, because he wanted to be able to use it to make more like him, to captivate, to entice. It's sort of like, what was that story that back in the day, the Pied Piper? Remember, he used the music to captivate and bring everybody, the rats all along, the Pied Piper. Well, that's kind of like what this is. And I don't want to mention R. Kelly. Yes, I knew we were probably thinking that for anybody out there. But with that being said, we're talking about how I mean, how music can just take you. It can take your soul. It can take your mind, man. It's captivating. I mean, it's totally captivating. And so that's how it was portrayed in this movie. And so with the vampire symbolism, what do you think about all that scene in that regard, in regards to that scene?
Well, yeah, I think you hit it right on the head about the whole bringing everybody to the party kind of thing with his music and stuff like that. And I think that's kind of what the vampires wanted. It was because they wanted to gather them all in this thing. And let me go back a couple of score too. When they were setting up the warehouse, the scene I'm about to show, when they were setting up the warehouse with the guy that they were buying it from, I want to tell people out there that are watching this, I want to see if you understand who is Slim and who is Smoke. Okay. And we'll let you figure that out real quick. Here you go.
I thought y'all was dead set on buying the place. More time I spend with y'all, the less sure I am you boys are serious about it.
Ain't no boys here. I just grown men. With grown men money and grown men bullets.
So as you see there, it's kind of like the of course, business between black and white folks was kind of not the thing then either. So you had it was a lot of a trust thing going on, and you can tell which one is Slim and which one is Smoke. Smoke, obviously, he took offense to the fact that the man called them boy, but he wasn't saying it in that context. It was just something that made him snap on that whole situation. And he was like, who you call him boy? You know, that kind of stuff. And Slim was like, he was trying to calm down the situation because he was trying to get it done. You know, he was trying to, hey, let's get this warehouse. Don't even worry about all that, dude. Don't worry about all that. Let's do what we got to do. So
when
it was
when they named
funny.
those, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I was gonna say when they named them too, I think they made it appropriate. You could look at one Smoke like I'll smoke your behind if you get out of line with me, and the other one was Stack, meaning like he's stacking the ladies. And so it's just kind of, so I just think that you can definitely tell the difference between the two characters, and but again, wonderfully portrayed by Michael B. Jordan, and I think it well deserved. If he gets an Oscar for this, it'll be well deserved because he did very well portraying two different characters and their specific emotions and personalities. That being said, man, let's get back to the movie. Talking about moving along with, let's see here.
This is after the.
Oh yes. So as we get to we're in the club and they're understanding that their audience, the audience that they want is primarily African American, but at the same time, they're finding out that their audience is primarily poor African American, and so they pay in money, but they also pay in credits and wooden nickels and different things like that are accepted on the plantation. And so they realize, you know, specifically, let me see. Preacher Boy father warned him. Yes, Constance. He said that, and I'll paraphrase here. He said that sometimes when you dance with the devil, that the devil follows you home. And so, with that being said, this is the beginning of the point of when the devil actually follows them home. And so they're in the club again, and they find out that the club specifically, they can't survive more than 2 months just off their own money. They'll be dry if they continue to do business the way they were doing business off the first night. That being said, we know if you've seen the movie, if you watch the movie, you know that they don't need 2 months. They have one night as the place burns down because of the situation with Remick. And obviously, one by one, you begin to see protagonists after protagonists get taken out and turned into vampires, starting with Mary, and then of course Cornbread, and then Stack. And this situation is sad because this is not what you want to see. Obviously, you want to see them be. You kind of get the fact that it's a sad story because history has shown this story to be sad. It's if you look at history and how it is, it's not just the vampires. It's looking at how the inclination or the inclusion of in this movie the Ku Klux Klan and how they dealt with African Americans, specifically well-to-do African Americans. We can go into history about Tulsa, Oklahoma, when Black Wall Street, that sort of thing. When history shows you that we were trying to do our own thing, and yet it was met with resistance, and not just resistance, but total destruction. And with that said, you see the same thing here in this movie. You see whether you think it's legal or not legal, and how they started, it's still Black excellence, and it was frowned upon because clearly everybody was supposed to be sharecroppers. And I'll say this: I have grandparents. I don't know if anybody out there. I have grandparents and family members who were sharecroppers during that time. And I'm from Louisiana and by way of Mississippi, so a lot of this hits home for me. My cousin that's popping in, Constance, she's from there as well. I mean, her family's from there as well. And so a lot of this movie hits home, and it's just it's sad in regards to how it's being conveyed and how you see the things that are happening, because you can relate with some of your stories that your family tells you about different things that have occurred during that time period. And so, but of course, we're including vampires in the mix. I never heard any stories about vampires during that time. So, anybody out there wondering, there's no
Voodoo,
vampire
maybe.
stories. Yes, but maybe that is specifically. But with that being said, you again, one by one, you begin to see protagonists again being killed and changed into vampires, and it's a great story because they begin. Remick tells a tale. He begins to tell you, because he has some sort of telepathy. Once he bites these people, they can all talk to each other. They know each other's memories. They know each other's thoughts. And he starts to tell everybody like what the Klan members are planning to do to them once they the next day in regards to Smoke and Stack. He wants to let them know that this is not don't think this is real, because they're going to try to come kill you in the next day. And also the things that are going to happen with music and how things are changing, how they're going to steal music from you. They're gonna take your music, and we're talking major corporations, which it happened. It really happened. Major corporations would take talent and steal their music, steal their copyright, and everything that you have, that's your essence, that's your livelihood, that you're supposed to, your generational talent that's supposed to be passed down, generational wealth, is stolen from you. It's stolen from you. And this is what was conveyed in the movie. So this is sort of a woke period during the movie, which I don't mind, because these are truths. These are all truths that are happening. Again, minus the vampires. It's all truths that have occurred. And so it's realism. And so going into the movie where they're fighting each other, Stack and Smoke are fighting each other. Anne gets killed and gets bitten. And she made him promise him that he would put a stake in her heart so that she wouldn't come back. And what caught me right there would be the fact that Mary and Stack were disappointed when he did that, because they wanted all of them to be together. This is what screwed up about the vampire part, is like it was sort of a cult. They wanted them everybody to be like this. They wanted to build a whole big organization of vampires, and it was like a cultish thing. And so it was really good. I love this movie so far up to this point. What do you think about the scenes when they're during this devastation that's happening?
Well, I'm going to show a scene with Cornbread when he gets turned, and he has to face both. I believe it was a Slim and or Stack in was a Stack and his wife. Yeah, at the door to the club. You know what's funny about this? As much as we talk about the differences between black and white in that time frame, the ironic thing about the vampires is when you turn into a vampire, it doesn't make a difference what color you are after that. You're a vampire. And and to the title of the movie Sinners, is it the fact that us as humans on this earth are always going at each other, but once we get turned into vampires, it's all for nothing. It's like the color of green. It's like money. Everybody that's rich don't see color, but everybody that's poor sees color because that's how it's portrayed in the real world by the media. Because you don't have any money, you're not rich, you're not the top 1% in this country, so it doesn't make a difference. It's just, I think it's kind of the same way when you got turned into vampires. It wasn't about black and white once you got turned into vampires. It was about the group of vampires, and it was like, this is what it's kind of ironic, the whole movie, when it comes to that point. So in this scene, again, Cornbread, he is obviously turned into a vampire, although he does a very good job of faking it. But one thing you need to know, the vampire legends hold true in this movie. For instance, you have to be invited in to a place, and this is what Cornbread's trying to do, but on the sly. So here's the so he doesn't get invited in, but he asks to get paid. So he's going through this song and dance, and he wants to get paid, and he asked that, hey, let me have my money, and as soon as Stack gives him his money, this happens. So yes, and that's what happens, and it true to form in this movie, they do use like the garlic that she uses to pour on Slim when he comes out of there, and it burns his face. So they load up on all these weapons because they know they got to fight this slew of vampires that are waiting for him to come out of this club. And so they got these steaks that they're making. They got all these cloves of garlic standing by. They got fire, they're using bullets and stuff like, even though that's not going to really kill them because it's, you can't kill them that way. But they're trying to do everything to battle them because right now they're closing in on the club, and it's very interesting. It holds true to a horror movie in that effect.
Yes.
Even with all the culture that's going on in it, it does hold true to the vampire horror movies. So also one more clip here about.
Let's not go to any more clip right now because we're like time here, I think. Yeah.
It's a short one. It's about Anne, and she's talking about the vampires. So she's trying to make you understand what she knows about the vampires. Now, this is real quick. It's going to be real quick.
Myself.
What stories you heard?
How Haints work. They switch places with the soul of a man. But vampires is different. Maybe the worst kind. The soul gets stuck in the body. Can't rejoin the ancestors. Cursed to live here with all this hate. Can't even feel the warmth of a sunrise.
Okay, then. Can we bring them back? Maybe if I kill the ones that make.
So she explains that what she's feeling about the vampires. So it's a good movie. It didn't give a lot of clips to it because I don't want to ruin the whole thing if people haven't seen it yet. It does have a pretty truly interesting ending. So we're gonna
Well,
leave
if they're
that
watching
with you.
this episode and haven't seen the movie, this whole episode is spoiled it for them because we given everything.
Well,
But with that being said, man, I would say that the going back into the movie, obviously we see Remick. He dies at the hand of Smoke and Preacher Boy at the end, and the son comes out as a revelation because the son is a big emphasis in this movie as well. And I love what you said in regards to the sinfulness and being a vampire and how it doesn't have anybody's name, no color in the skin. It's everybody. And that being said, I wanted to agree with you in regards to the title Sinners because it puts emphasis on us as humans, the human nature of people, regardless of color, skin, race, sex, anything. It's just us and what we do and our decisions, our choices in life. And you can see at the beginning, there's a decision, whether it's being forced upon him, Preacher Boy, or whether he's making one for himself specifically to say, I'm going to make a decision to do whatever it is I want to do in my life, whether it be following your footsteps as a preacher or to go my own way. And at the end of the movie, he elects to go his own way because it goes back to that point. Obviously, we see Smoke dies as the revelation regarding the Klansmen coming back to try to ambush them. He ends up ambushing them and taking them out, but he takes a stray bullet and he's mortally wounded. That being said, Preacher Boy elects to go on and they showed us the time period is 60 years later in 1992. And of course, you see, true to form, he's playing, he's an old man with 3 scars on his face in a club that he owns called Perlene's. If you didn't recognize it was on the billboard, it said Perlene's. He named it after the woman he was with. But again, he was with a married woman. So he named the club after a married woman that he had been with for one night. And you can see the term sinners because Stack and Mary show up after a long period, and he had not seen him since that night. And they sat down, have a drink, and talk and reminisce. And Stack tells him that he made a promise to Smoke not to mess with you and allow you to live a full life. And that he listened to his music, he followed his career and everything else. And one thing about the movie is that he said that he never get to see the sunlight anymore, or he won't see his brother. But at that time period, that was the last time, when he was able to hug his brother in the sun and everything else. So he took things for granted. And ultimately being a sinner paid the ultimate price. They were turned to vampires. They can't die unless they were killed by the way vampires are killed, or sunlight. But they can never grow old. They don't have children. All this stuff. It's just those were the consequences of them being sinners, and you saw the consequences of everybody being a sinner. So it didn't matter, and it was just a great portrayal and a great conveyance of that particular for me. In that way, they conveyed the essence of sinners, and they get at the same time they gave you some history lessons and told you about different things during that time period, and went on to the future. But it was all in all, it was a great movie. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was an excellent movie. I thought going back, if there's a couple of things I could be picky on, I didn't like the music thing in regards to the time periods. I thought they should have stayed true to form, and that's where I think that's where you and I disagree. They should have stayed true to form to that time period. But again, I'm being picky here. Everything else was just, I thought it was a masterpiece, honestly. So I'm gonna give it and tell everybody out there, if you're just watching for the first time, we rate the movies. We rate it 1 through 5 buckets of popcorn. And if the movie's a 5, we can also add extra butter. So, we call it that an instant classic. And upon further review, I'm going to give it 5 buckets of popcorn with extra butter. It was just that good to me. And I think it's worth 16 nods for Oscars. And so I'm going to give it 5 buckets of popcorn with extra butter. How about you, Brian?
Well, I'm on that same boat with you. The 5 buckets of popcorn with extra butter. I think that the music portion of it kind of followed what Idlewild did with their music, where it was a mixture of that time of music and then a little bit of hip hop in between there, because you remember who was in that movie, so and Idlewild, that is. So I guess it mixed. It was probably better mixed in that situation than in Sinners, because there's really no musical people in Sinners that you would know that are current. Just the choir boy doing his blues thing. But at the same time, like I said, it was a culturally historic movie type with the music. So I liked it. I know you didn't like the music part, but I liked the music part because it was interesting.
Yes, Yenzer, I agree with you. Can we? I would go back to Yenzer's comment, and he mentioned a while back, but I think we got time enough to talk about our bios. When we do the movie review, Brian and I, we actually take either two people from the movie or the director or editing, whoever it may be. We do a bio of one of us. Each one of us will do a bio of one person that we elect to talk about. And I'm going to talk about Ryan Coogler. And I think, B, who'd you like to talk about?
Delroy Lindo.
Delroy Lindo. Okay. So I want to talk about Ryan Coogler right now. And again, I'm glad we both were able to choose that movie, 5 Buckets of Popcorn with Extra Butter. So Ryan Coogler was born May 23rd, 1986. He was originally in college on an athletic scholarship, and he played as a football player at St. Mary's College of California. He majored in chemistry, and while doing so, he took a creative writing course. The teacher was so well impressed with him, he or she praised his work and encouraged him to learn screenwriting. And from there, he graduated from that school, went to USC for 3 years on a master program in cinematography and then in film. And that's where he skyrocketed from there, because his first full length, he did short films, but his first full length picture was a success in Fruitvale Station. And that was the beginning of a professional and a personal relationship with Michael B. Jordan. And they would go on and do 5 movies. Obviously, he did Panther. He went on to do Creed. He did 3 Creeds, all 3. And then, of course, Sinners. And the cool thing about Sinners with Ryan Coogler is that he was in a situation where he was able to he also co-produced Judas and the Black Messiah, the biopic about the black activist, the Black Panther activist, Fred Hampton, who was assassinated at the young age of 21. And he was, of course, ratted out by William O'Neill. And so that was about both those two. That's who portrayed as Judas, and one was the Messiah. But a very good movie. But then, of course, regarding Sinners, Ryan was able to negotiate an unprecedented deal with Warner Brothers, including a provision for full ownership. If you don't know this out here, full ownership reversion 25 years after the film's release, granting him full control over future licensing, royalties, and sequels. He also received first dollar gross participation, meaning whatever money's coming out at the beginning, he's making it off the top, making money right off the top. And final cut privileges, ensuring creative control. Brian is married with 3 children, and he works as a counselor with incarcerated youth at San Francisco Juvenile Hall, like his father did. Incredible. I'm impressed with Ryan.
Yeah, and of course, my main man, Delroy George Lindo. He was born on the 18th of November in 1952 in London, England. Bet you a lot of people didn't know that, did they? So his early life was spent mostly in England. At age 16, he moved to Ontario. And 24, they moved to 16, he moved to San Francisco. When he was about 8 or 9, they moved to Ontario, Canada. When he was 24 is when he started getting into acting. He was in some plays when he was younger because he had a passion for acting. But he actually went to acting school at the age of 24. You'll know Lindo in movies like Malcolm X, where he played West Indian Archie, Woody Carmichael in Crooklyn, the Spike Lee joint, Rodney Little in Clockers. He also played in the Cider House Rules as Arthur Rose. Detective Castlebeck in Gone in 60 Seconds, one of my favorite movies right there.
Mine too.
Isaac O'Day in Romeo Must Die with the late superstar singer Aaliyah. Joe Black in This Christmas, and Bass Reeves in The Harder Day Fall. He also was a character voice beta in the Pixar animated film Up. So he did lend his voice to that. And let me tell you something. This dude has so many accolades in his life. The most he's gotten is the NAACP Image Awards, where he won 3 of his 7 nominations. He is also nominated for an Academy Award this year for Best Supporting Actress for his role in Sinners. Of course, that's still pending. Remember, the Academy Awards is this weekend on Sunday, the 15th. So make sure you watch that. I don't know how many awards that this movie will get, but if they get half of them, I would be happy with that, because they deserved a lot of these awards. And I haven't seen every movie that's up for an Academy Award, so I can't compare it to a lot of them. I've seen some of them, but I haven't seen all of them, so I can't really make a bet. But because this is Michael B. Jordan is he's an excellent actor anyway. Delroy is as well, and the slew of people that are in it that are
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So thank you for that, B. I'm going to say great movie we reviewed, and we always at the end pitch our next movie that we're going to review is The Last Starfighter. We had 2 requests for this, and for any of you out there that want to request and you want to participate, please continue to comment in the bottom down there, and we will respond to them. And also, we have The Last Starfighter again. I think it was 1984 or 1982, whichever. But we're going to review that next time. So please watch the movie before, because we give spoilers. So if you've never seen the movie, you want to see it, and you want to see the review, please watch the movie ahead of time. We have a full week. We're at Tuesday. And look at the bottom down here, BW Flix 2026@gmail.com. If you got a movie that you want us to review, please send it that. If you have any comments, if you have any suggestions for anything that we can do better, please send it to those to that email. Again, questions. We are all open to constructive criticism. And we will definitely, if we choose your movie, we will definitely give you credit for it, and we'll give you a shout out. And again, that movie, The Last Starfighter, we're going to give a shout out to Bo and Keith Angle. Those are 2 guys that are our co-hosts on different sports podcasts. But again, we don't have too much time here, so thank you for joining us. If you like this show, please like this. We're on YouTube and we are on Facebook, but please like, subscribe, and share with anybody that you know out there, so that we can get bigger and continue to grow for you and give you good content. But until next episode on Tuesday of next week at 9 p.m. on YouTube and Facebook. See you next episode.